Today we're going to be working on a 2007 Lexus GX 470. We'll be installing a V-line, so we'll be taking out the radio and display here. So the first step will be removing these two pieces of trim on the side here. We'll be using a pry tool for that, and we're just going to pry up right here. There we go. And there's going to be a vertical clip right here, which will go into the slot right here. So when we pull it out, we want to pull down. We'll do the same on this side here. There we go. And now that those are loose, we'll focus on taking out this part here. So we're going to be pulling out the two pieces of side trim here. To do that, we're going to pull on the bottom, and we're going to work our pry tool around the inside edge here. And then that should come out. We're going to have one plug on the back here. We'll just pinch in the clip, and that'll come out. And now we'll move on to the driver's side. So now we'll pull out this fin over here the same way. Just going to pull on the bottom, and use our pry tool to get the clips loose. There we go. And we're going to have one more plug on the back right here. Just pinch in this clip. There we go. And that's how we get that loose. Here's all the clips on the back so you can see. And now we're ready to move on to take out the radio and display. The next step will be removing this piece of trim here. And we're actually just going to set it down right here for now because we don't need to unplug it. And next we'll move on to taking this out. We're going to have 4 bolts that hold it in. All are going to be 10 millimeters. We've got one over here, one on this side, and then one down here. So I'll take those out. And then the final step will be taking out the screw right here, which holds in the harness for all of this. There we go. And it should come unplugged once you actually unscrew it enough. And now we're ready to pull this out. We're just going to pull and kind of wiggle with it to get it loose. And then now we're going to disconnect everything behind the radio. And now that we've got everything disconnected back here, there is this extra harness here which appears to be something aftermarket. So we're just going to disconnect that. And you can trace down these to see what they go to. Sometimes it is a Sirius XM module from the factory, but we are going to leave this disconnected, and we're just going to plug the factory one back in here for now. So now that we've got the radio removed, we're ready to install our harnesses. We're first going to use our GBMF here, and we're going to plug this plug in from the display into the female connector here. And then this side will be left unconnected right now. And once we get the display in here, we'll plug that in, and this side will be routed to the V-line. Our second cable we'll be installing will be the MCF toy here. And this cable will be plugged in behind the radio. It is a 12-pin connector. It's very similar to this here. So this is actually for the factory SAT tuner. We're going to leave that disconnected, and this will actually just be connected behind the radio. So this harness we're just going to put back down here for now, and we're going to leave it disconnected, and we'll be using this one in its place. Alright, so we're ready to run all of our harnesses to the glove box for the V-line. We're going to take our MCF toy here, and we're going to leave it in this area for the radio. So we're just going to run it back behind the dash to this corner by the AC vent. And then at the end, we'll take all of our wires to the AC vent and be running those to the glove box. Next we've got our GBMF. That's up here in this area by the display. So I'm going to go down below here and run it with the MCF toy. So we're going to be doing the factory microphone retention in this vehicle. We've got our harness open here, and we've got our black and red wire with the microphone cable. So we're going to go ahead and strip these back just a little bit. There we go. And now that we've got those stripped back, we're going to go ahead and open our P-taps here. So we'll open up the top part. We're going to push the wire through. And then all the exposed wire we want to bundle up in this bottom part. We're just going to push this down a little bit to make sure that everything's in there. And if we've done it correctly, that won't come loose. And now we'll move on to the red wire. There we go. And so now we've got these prepared and we can move on to the vehicle harness. So we've located our 40 pin connector here. In the document we have, it's going to be pins 2 and 3. They're always going to be red and green wire in this vehicle, but sometimes they might switch in color. So pin 2 here is actually going to be our positive wire, which is the red, and that'll connect to our red wire here. And the green wire is going to be our negative, and we'll be connecting our black wire to that. To get access to these, we're going to peel this back a little bit. And you can also cut this if you'd like. We're just not trying to mess with too much here. And so now we've got access to this red and green wire, and we're going to go ahead and connect our microphone wires here. So we're going to unscrew this part here, and that will go around the red wire. And then this side will screw on, and that metal pin inside is going to stick into the wire, which will give us a connection. And now we'll move on to the green wire. We'll do the same thing with the bottom part. This will go around the green wire. Alright, so now we've got those connected here, and we're going to run this wire on this side to the V-line, and we'll plug this in to have access to the factory microphone. So the last thing we'll be installing behind the radio here is going to be the GPS antenna. And we're actually going to be putting that right up here on top of this fin. And we're going to be peeling off the back here. You also want to wipe down this area with maybe like a rubbing alcohol or just a wipe, just to make sure there's no lint up there. Otherwise this won't stick very well. So we're going to stick that right up here. There we go. And then we're going to push down on it for a few seconds just to make sure it fully sticks. And from here, we're going to route our cable over just like we did with the GVMF. We're going to go underneath here. And then we'll go up by the air vent here. And then we're going to take all of our slack and put that up here behind the actual display. And we're going to move on to running everything to the glove box. So we're going to be actually removing the glove box in this case, since we do have the CD changer in here and it does have to be disconnected. To do this, we're going to pry off this piece of trim on top. There we go. And it's just the 4 clips holding that in. And then from here, we're going to remove some screws that hold in the glove box. And we're also going to have to take out the glove box itself. So we'll come to the other side and show you that. Alright, so this clip right here with the string on it, we have to pull that forward. There we go, and that'll come off. And then from here, we can actually just pull the glove box out. Alright, so just to show you, these clips on the bottom here, they clip on here, and then the side right here is on either side, and these clips are what hold it in. So you have to push in on the side to get it to come out. And you're going to push it on both sides and pull down, and it'll come out. This one came out so easy because one of the clips on the side is broken. So it might be a little harder whenever you do it, but as long as you push it on both sides, it'll come out. Alright, so now that we've got the glove box out of the way, we're going to be pulling this cavity out here. So we're going to take out the 3 screws along the top. We've got 1 in the middle and 2 on each side. This one's already missing in this vehicle, but you should have it in yours. And we've got 1 on the bottom here we need to take out next. And once the bottom one's out, you can just push down here, and the 3 clips will come out. And then we're going to have 2 more screws, 1 on either side here. And now that we've got all those out, this should just pull out of place. And we're going to have this 1 plug on top to undo. There we go. And this one here, we're actually going to just pop this trim out of place. And we're just going to turn that sideways, and that one will come out. And then lastly, we've got this plug on the side. There we go. And now that we've got this out of the way, we can remove the CD changer here and get our wiring through. Alright, so the first step to removing the CD changer is going to be removing the 4 bolts. There's going to be 2 on either side. Now we'll move on to the passenger side. Now once we've got all 4 removed, you can just pick up on it and pull it out horizontally. And we're going to have this plug on the side over here to disconnect. There we go. And now that we've got this disconnected, it won't be interfering with the V-line, and we can run all of our wires through the space where it was and store the V-line in the space that it was. Alright, so we're going to run all of our wires through real quick. It's very simple. They'll just go through right here, through this little gap. And we're just going to take each one of our wires individually and run them through. Alright, so now I've got all these through. We're going to take some of our extra cable slack on this end over here and kind of tidy that up. And then we'll come back to over here and run everything neatly. So we've got all of our V-line connectors here, and we've cable managed them all to where they plug into the V-line. And that'll be on the top shelf right here. So we're ready to put this back in place now. We're just going to push all of our wires through here. And now that we've got all those through, we're ready to plug in all of our connectors on the outside here. We'll start with the 2-pin connector on the side. And then this will go down through here. And then we'll clip that in once we get everything in place. And lastly, we've got this plug up here for the light. And after you've got all those in, you're just going to slide this into place and put your 2 clips in on top. And then 2 clips on the bottom. And then lastly, this piece here is going to have this little clip. That needs to go in first on the ledge on the far side, and then it'll just hinge up and clip into place. And now we can move on to all the screws that hold this cavity in. Alright, so we're going to put in all of our screws back on top here. And then this vehicle was missing one, so we're going to leave that one out here, but if you have the 3 screws along the top, make sure you put in all 3. And then on the bottom, we've got one down here and one on this side. And now that all of those are in place, you can click this bottom piece in here. There's going to be 2 little hooks on the back corner that need to go in up top. And once those are in place, this will click all in along here. And then we'll have one final screw that goes in right here. And now we're ready to put the glove box back in. So to put the glove box back in, we're going to have these little clips on the bottom that'll go on here and here. So we'll do that first. Then once you get it in place, you're going to want to push down to fully clip them in. After you've got that done, we need to take this clip on the back here, and it'll go on this raised part on the driver's side. And we'll push the glove box up, and we're going to push down on either side, and that gets those 2 clips on the bottom to fully clip in, and your glove box should be back in place. So the final thing we'll be doing on this side is putting this piece of trim back in. You'll just line that up and push in. There we go, and all the clips will seat into place. So now that the glove box is all good, we're ready to put the radio back in. The first part we're going to start with is actually the bottom part here, the actual radio module. We're going to be plugging our MCF toy in here, and that's going to be this cable here with the 12-pin male and female. We're going to plug that into the radio itself, and then this side here is going to get plugged in to our female side. go. And now that that's in place, we're going to run our 2 factory antenna plugs, and down here we want to make sure we keep all this other wiring up top. We're going to plug that one in on the bottom. And now that all of those are in place, we're going to move on to the plugs up here. So we've got our GVMF here. I unplugged this because it was trapped below the wiring down here, so we'll re-plug all this in. The first part is going to go into our actual display here. It'll be in the far corner. There we go. And then this will get plugged into the factory one. And then we'll finally start plugging in all the other factory connectors back into their original slots. And now that we've got everything plugged back in, we're ready to seat this back into place. So we're ready to put this back into place now. We're going to pick it up and line up the top 2 clips here. And then we're going to get the harness lined up on the bottom. We're just going to push that into place. And finally, we'll push the bottom in. And now that that's in place, we can put in all 5 screws here. We're going to start with the 4 up here, and then we'll tighten the one for the harness last. Yep. And lastly, we'll tighten the one for the harness. You want to be kind of gentle with that. You don't want to drill it too hard if you're using a drill. I would prefer to use a wrench for this normally, but you can use any type of drill. So next, we're going to put this bottom part on here, and that'll just clip into place. The 3 up top and 2 on the bottom. And now that that's in, we can move on to the 2 side panels. So we've got our side panel here. We're going to go ahead and plug this back in. And then we're going to slide this into place. And you want to make sure the cable for this doesn't get into the air vent area. So we're going to kind of push that down into the side. And once it's in place, you can just push in and all the clips will go into place. And now we'll move on to this driver's side. So next, the driver's side, we've got another plug here. And once that's in place, we're going to do the same thing and just kind of push that down and towards the driver's side so it doesn't get in the air vent. And then we're going to push in the top clips, the bottom clips. And now we're on to the bottom 2 pieces of trim. So we're going to put this side on first, and you need to put this clip in at the very top at an angle, and then push down on the trim, and it'll clip in. We'll do the same on the driver's side here. Top in first, and push down. And then last thing, if you have the change door like this here, this one came out during the install, they just clip into place. You can just slide that back in, and it'll work normally. And now we're going to move on to testing everything out.